Hey there, coaches. I'm Rich Prado, owner of Play in School and host of Travel Ball Talk, where I talk to travel ball coaches from the best organizations about the current and future state of travel baseball. Today's call features Scott Stahlecker and Jeff Leise from the Nebraska Prospects. We have a great conversation where I learn a lot about the landscape of baseball in Nebraska. And for the first time in nearly 40 episodes, we discuss competing for players against, wait for it, American Legion teams. Yep, true story. I hope you enjoy this episode of Travel Ball Talk. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. On today's episode, we're heading out to I think they refer to this as one of the flyover states. I don't really know because this is a long way from Richmond, Virginia. We're heading out to Nebraska today to talk with Scott Stahlecker and Jeff Leise, two of the owners of the Nebraska Prospects, based in the Omaha area of Nebraska. So we're going to talk Nebraska, we're going to talk geography, we're going to talk baseball. But welcome to the show, guys. I appreciate both of you coming on the line today. How are y'all doing?
Doing great. Really appreciate you having us on. I hate to say it, but we probably are a flyover state. You're probably correct in saying that.
Hey, well, do me a favor so that we so the listeners know who is who. Why don't we give both of you, take the mic for a second and introduce yourself, and maybe just give us, that 30-second background on you.
All right, thanks, Rich. Yeah, Scott Stahlecker here, Omaha, born and raised. Been involved with youth baseball now since 2005. So, yeah, that's got a little bit of my background in the coaching and where I'm at today.
Thanks.
Jeff Leise here, also from Omaha. Went down and played at the University of Nebraska for 4 years. Played on some really good teams. Was fortunate to play in the College World Series a couple times. Never did any damage there, but like I said, I was fortunate to play there. I've been doing baseball instruction, lessons, training, all that kind of stuff, and then been with the Prospects since we started in 2015 as well. So that's, I guess, a little my background.
That's perfect. Now we know who you are, and you know what? I want to kind of check myself here. I always wait until we're about 60 minutes into the show to tell people where they can find more info on you guys. So let's do it now instead of at the end. So if you're listening, over on Twitter, prospects_NE is where you're going to find the Nebraska Prospects over on Twitter. And from there, you can link over to their website, which is nebraskabaseballprospects.com. So hopefully I did a better job of pointing people in the right direction. And the show notes and the links will also be at playinschool.com/ probably, how about we use Leise since it's shorter to spell, Leise. Playinschool.com/Leise will have all the info, show notes, links, etc. Now let's talk about the Prospects. You guys were telling me this is pretty much a brand new organization. It's like I'm on Twitter all day, every day, and just devouring content and looking at what everybody's up to. And I feel like that you guys have been around a while because, as I told Scott, I'd reached out to one of y'all's co-owners, Darren, several years ago, but that must have been right at the very inception. So take us back just a couple years ago, 2015, and tell us how y'all got started and catch us up in the few short years since then.
Yeah, for sure. So fall of 2015 was kind of our first year. Darren Obrick, there, one of our partners, had a kid who I believe was a sophomore that year in high school. They kind of just put the team together last minute. We played throughout the fall. They had some success there at the Perfect Game Colonels Classic in Cedar Rapids. 2016, we kind of took off a little bit more. We had ended up with 4 teams. From that first team, we ended up only having 6 seniors and 8 juniors. seniors went the JUCO route. Our first graduating class of those 6, 5 of them are now in Division I baseball.
Nice.
So 2016 we had 4 teams. 2017 we climbed up to 10 teams. In the last 2 falls now we have had anywhere between 13 to 15 teams. So then this last summer of 2019 was really our first year that we decided to have summer baseball. We can kind of get into the summer a little bit more, but our plan for this next year is to have 3 to 4 summer teams. We're actually meeting on that here coming up real soon. So we've grown quickly. It's been great. And since our first graduating class, which would have been our 2016 years, we've sent 144 kids on to play college baseball at some level. So for a state like Nebraska, we've accomplished our goal so far, as to just give kids a chance to play at the next level.
And I'll say this or add this, that when we started this, it wasn't, there wasn't like a formal business plan and we're going to do this and this. And it kind of, like Scott was saying, I mean, it just started kind of quick in that fall, and we felt like there's need for it. And Darren had a kid and some teammates that wanted to do it. We, for lack of a better term, kind of just threw it together, and Raleigh Kenny, one of our partners, played a big part in that. He actually helped start the Arkansas Prospects organization. If he didn't start it, he certainly played a role in that organization. And so he kind of knew the landscape of some of this. And like I said, it was something that we felt like kids around here weren't getting the same opportunities, and there was a need for it. And there were certainly fall teams, but I don't know if any of them did a great job. And for summer baseball, I think we're going to get into that a little bit later.
Yes, we are.
For summer, I mean, there was nothing here outside of Legion. So, I mean, it's certainly grown pretty quickly for us, and pretty happy with the progress we've made.
Yeah, Rich, one of the big things that happened with our organization was back in the fall of 2018. Omaha Elite had another fall program who had about 100 kids in their program, and we were sitting around 150. And the partners from both organizations kind of got together and was like, why are we fighting over kids? We're taking the best talent and splitting it up. And why don't we come together in, one city, one organization? And that was kind of the motto. We've merged so the 2 organizations together now, and that's kind of why we've had so much success in the number of teams and the talent level that have rolled through here.
No doubt that partnering up with somebody across town is going to help you double your numbers pretty quickly. That's pretty interesting. So you've eliminated that brand completely, Omaha Elite, and just gone with it's all under Nebraska Prospects at this time?
Omaha Elite still has their USSSA organization.
Got it. The youth.
There, but as far as high school goes, Omaha Elite's no longer on that side of it.
Got it.
We take the brand that was doing better, and we kept the Prospects brand.
Cool. That's funny. You know what though? The Omaha is a just one city out there, right? And then Nebraska opens you up and sort of markets to the entire state. So maybe that was part of the thinking. And I know our exact numbers. I mean, we pull from western Nebraska and some of the small towns. We have, I don't know, Scott, if you know the number of Lincoln kids. We're definitely primarily Omaha and the surrounding area, but yeah, we get kids that will travel and will come in from different areas of the state. So I just Googled it while we were talking. The Omaha, at least according to the Google machine, the Omaha metro area is listed on Google to have a population around 1 million people. Does that sound correct with the city and the surrounding counties?
Exactly. That's what I was telling you, right?
The
surrounding area, the metro area is about 1 million.
Okay, so that's very comparable to Richmond, where I live here in Virginia, and that is plenty of families, plenty of kids to fill a lot of baseball teams. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I mean, I can rattle off, probably 5 or 6 organizations that have lots of teams each. So for y'all to, to be pushing 20 teams here in the next couple of years is not a big shock. Not a big shock at all. That's pretty cool. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Nebraska geography, it is an 8-hour drive across the state, according to Scott. So I don't know how fast he drives, but that's a long way from the eastern border where Omaha sits all the way to the western border. That's, quite frankly, it's almost, it's not far from Fort Collins, Colorado. So are y'all pulling beyond Lincoln all the way out into those, far off parts of the state?
Yeah, we certainly don't get a ton of kids. Like I said, our base is the Omaha area. Do you know, Scott, what we have for Lincoln kids?
I'd say probably 20% of our kids are probably from the Lincoln area.
How far away is that for y'all?
Lincoln's about an hour.
Okay, that's not bad at all.
Then we get out to Grand Island and Hastings, which are anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours. We've gotten kids from like Lexington, Nebraska, which is more like 4 hours. We've got some kids from the Dakotas, the South Dakota, that come down and play. Some kids from Kansas in the organization. So we kind of got a little wide variety here. Nice.
Okay, so there's two directions I kind of want to go first. And one is geography and one is summer ball. But since we're talking geography right now, this might be worth getting into. I've had a couple of guests on from Colorado. I had a guest on from Kansas City. But Nebraska is an interesting thing. We looked it up the other day when I was talking to Scott. If you take Nebraska and then the surrounding states, including Iowa, South Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado, and Kansas, and obviously Nebraska, there's a tremendous lack of Division I baseball opportunities. So, there's plenty of junior college, there's plenty of Division II, there's some Division III, but there's a lack of Division I. So how does that come into play? How do y'all, discuss that with the families and just talk about, you're out there on this island in the middle of the country where there's not a lot of college baseball. How does that impact your kind of thought process and your day-to-day lives running this thing?
Yeah, I think it certainly has an impact, and it honestly makes what we're doing even more important, because in the past it was hard for these kids to get out there and get exposed to, schools and teams outside of just the state of Nebraska. So they had to go to the camps and go to that kind of stuff and really push themselves to get out in front of those coaches. You look at the state of Nebraska, we have 3 Division I's. The state of Iowa State, they actually folded their baseball program when I was in college at Nebraska. Northern Iowa doesn't have a program anymore. So it's Iowa's the only Division I school in the state of Iowa. Colorado State don't have baseball.
Minnesota just has University of Minnesota.
Yeah, so it's like you said, there's definitely a lack of the Division I's kind of in our bordering states. So it's important for us to help get these kids out there playing in the big tournaments, getting in front of coaches, and I feel like between our ownership group and then even the coaches that we have that coach our teams, we're pretty well connected with about all of the schools, certainly in the Midwest region, and then even have some ties, into some of the SEC country and further out west, and kind of all over. So, like I said, it's definitely been something that's important to us, and something that we try to help our kids do is get out there and give them opportunities to be seen and find schools that are a good fit for them.
Y'all mentioned it earlier. That first wave of players had a big group that went JUCO, and of that group, 90% of them have transferred to Division I. So that's got to be kind of an intentional decision of the coaching staff as well as the players to look beyond Division I baseball coming out of high school, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we can get into the timeline stuff here in a little bit, but just having our coaches and our organization have such good relationships with all different levels of college baseball. I think that's what helps our kids the most in the organization is they can find there's an opportunity out there for almost everyone to play college baseball.
And I always tell kids, I mean, everyone wants different things out of college experience and what they want to do, but I mean, the JUCO route's not bad. It's not a bad option, and if you're not quite at that Division I level yet, it's certainly a good fit for a lot of kids. And I mean, shoot, you talk about like the state of Kansas has a lot of good junior colleges. We have a lot of good relationships there, and there's certainly a lot of our kids that end up going to the JUCO route, and certainly a lot to go to the Kansas junior colleges out of high school.
So I'm no expert in junior college baseball in the middle of the country, but I think between Iowa and Kansas, which both border you to the east and to the south, you probably have a ton of opportunities. What's the JUCO landscape like in the state of Nebraska?
I think, excuse me, in the state of Nebraska, there's not a ton of JUCOs, but
okay. So they got they're heading east and heading south, and they're taken care of.
There's one Northeast Community College about an hour and a half north of here. I don't want to leave anybody out. We got Southeast Community College, which is just about an hour and 15 minutes south of here. Western Nebraska Community College, which is quite a ways out west towards Colorado. And then we're very fortunate to have arguably the top junior college in the country in Iowa Western right here in our backyard.
Right.
But a lot of the junior colleges in Kansas are a couple hours away, and
yep.
Same with the ones in Iowa. And they recruit our area very hard, and they recruit our kids very hard.
Yeah, plenty of options between those two states. Let's take a short break from this call to talk about my day job, video. In 2019, if you aren't leveraging film to market your guys, you are doing them a disservice. So where do I come in? Well, filming one guy on your iPhone and texting it to coaches or posting it to Twitter is easy. But filming 25, 50, 100, or 200 is really hard. And that's why you haven't done it already. That's why smart coaches partner with Play in School. We do all the work. We come to you. We can film 100 guys in the time it would take you to film just 4 or 5. If you'd like to see every team we partner with, visit playinschool.com/teams. Contact me today to discuss the details. Now, back to the call. This is sort of, I feel like I touch on this topic a lot recently. It's top of mind. The JUCO opportunity is from a financial standpoint can be a great opportunity. Compared to a $60,000 private school, if you can go into a JUCO for pennies on the dollar for 2 years and then transfer out, I don't like seeing kids who are 22 years old rolling out of college with $100,000 in debt. And junior college can be a huge part of solving that problem.
100% agree. With the limits on baseball scholarships, you're typically not looking at a lot of scholarship money, especially if you're a fringe Division I type player. You get 25% or something like that at Division I. Like you said, you're certainly going to rack up debt, and then the other part of that that's a huge benefit is nobody wants to go somewhere and sit. You're not going to have a good experience, and you're also not going to improve the way you can if you're going somewhere and sitting for a couple of years. So I was fortunate personally. I played 4 years at Nebraska and went there, like I said, out of high school. But like as a freshman, I didn't play a whole lot. Fortunately, did as a sophomore, but like I said, didn't play a whole lot as a freshman. And I mean, for kids that like I said, if you're going to go somewhere and sit, you're not going to have a good experience with that. And some of those kids also, the problem becomes they transfer a couple times and, trying to find the right fit. So I think the JUCO option is a great option for a lot of kids and a great way to develop. And like you said, just save a little coin as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody gets caught up in the D1 thing and it is what it is, but there are other options. And here in the state of Virginia, Division III baseball is phenomenal. But it just by happenstance, the Division III schools in the state of Virginia are primarily private institutions that are very expensive. And it's easy for a kid to fall into a trap of, some 25-year-old recruiting coordinator likes that kid, and all of a sudden that kid's amped up to go there, and that school's 3 times more expensive than mom and dad were prepared for. And that's a tough thing for, that's a tough situation to be in. So anywho, well, you know what? I'm glad that y'all have embraced the JUCO opportunity, and strategically, it's probably a really smart move. For your guys to basically, you're going to reset the recruiting timeline, give them an extra 2 years to then jump on and move elsewhere. Because of geographically where you're located, just a lack of Division I. Let's talk about summer baseball, because I was absolutely blown away when I talked to Scott last week about sort of the recent history of Nebraska summer baseball. Scott, do you want to tell us what has been king in summer ball in Nebraska?
Yeah, right now the battle we have is Legion baseball. Legion is
that just makes me laugh. He said American Legion is still ruling in Nebraska. That's crazy.
I'm going to interrupt here. So what's the Legion landscape in Virginia?
So Legion still exists. So Legion is still a thing, but from a recruiting standpoint, it's not a thing at all. So who plays it are the signed seniors and then college kids who are coming home who aren't placed in a collegiate league, who are young enough to still play. So it serves no purpose in the recruiting process at all. I'm talking about zero. College coaches do not go to American Legion games in my region. So, I know that things change in different pockets of the country, but I was really blown away at the, that American Legion still is taking some kind of priorities out there. So, yeah, so you have to fight that battle. Like, so what's the pitch to a kid who you're saying, hey, come play with us, leave your Legion team to come play with us? How's that working out?
Yeah, so usually when the conversation gets started, first and foremost, let me say we have some great high school Legion coaches here. But what our counter to the whole situation is Nebraska, our 3 Division I schools in our state, Nebraska, Omaha, and Creighton, do a great job of going after our kids in our program and other kids in the state. But the ones that they, I'm trying to word this the right way, they want to go out, they want to see these kids play against high-end competition day in and day out, where we're having our Division I schools in the state and the surrounding states. They're coming to Atlanta to watch us. They're coming to Indianapolis to watch us in the Super 25s. They're coming to Houston to watch us in the Program 15s tournament. So not with those 3 schools, not everybody in this state can go to those schools and play baseball. The rosters just aren't big enough.
Bingo.
So our job is to help these kids find a place to play. Whether that maybe they go out, we take them to Atlanta, they get seen by a school out in North Carolina. They never would have had the opportunity to be seen by staying here in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Like the school like Lipscomb, we had a kid from our organization go to Lipscomb. He probably never would have been seen if he wasn't out there.
Lipscomb or anybody else except for the schools right there in Omaha, they're not going to go to an American Legion game on a Friday night in Omaha, Nebraska. It's just not going to happen.
Well, and not only that, but even, the University of Nebraska, they don't want to come to Omaha, make the hour drive into Omaha, watch two Legion teams play where they're going to see, 2 or 3 kids that they might be interested in, when they can go to a tournament and see
200 or 300, right?
Exactly. Or a couple hundred, exactly. So, I mean, even the local schools, like Scott was just saying, I mean, they're following us around, to these other locations because it makes more sense for them. And honestly, I mean, I'm not blaming the Division Ones or the college coaches. It's a good system for them with the showcases and the travel ball and all that. It's a great system for them. But they're kind of the ones that create it, right? I mean, they create the demand for it, and it makes sense. Like I said, there's no reason for them to show up to a Legion game and watch 2 kids, and their time can be better spent.
Right. It's all about efficiencies, right? The players want to be at the events where a bunch of coaches can be seen, so it's efficient to get seen, but then it's also efficient for the coaches to go to where there's a bunch of guys who are all sort of in the same time frame. They're all about the same age with pursuing the same goals, right? You go to American Legion, and we're not bashing American Legion. It just doesn't serve the purpose. It doesn't have the same end goals. It's designed as pretty much a local kind of a town baseball activity that doesn't put the college recruiting part as its top priority. I mean,
and then the other part of that to me is, I said at the beginning, our goals with this are exposure and then development. And if you're playing let's just say you're playing a not very good Legion team, and you're a high-end kid and you're facing a kid throwing 72 miles an hour, like that's not helping you get better. You could be out at a tournament facing a guy throwing 88 and getting you ready for that next level. So, and honestly, I mean, again, going back to the recruitment side, as a college coach, it doesn't really tell me a lot if a player goes 3 for 4 against a guy, throwing 72 with no off speed.
Yep.
I want to see how's that guy turn around an 88-mile-an-hour fastball, and how does he hit a good slider, and how does he look against that kind of competition? Because that's going to translate to the next level.
Yep. So that blew me away. I thought we would talk about it a little bit. We'll probably get whoever hosts Legion Ball Talk to probably hit me up on Twitter and start bashing me or something. I don't know if there's a podcast for Legion Ball Talk or not. But Travel Ball Talk is all about travel ball. So putting that in the putting that in the forefront for this conversation. So this brings up kind of the obvious thing, and you guys have touched on a little bit, which I was going to ask about. Geographically, we talked about being on an island, and then also we're trying to provide exposure opportunities, which means you got to leave Nebraska quite a bit. So you mentioned Houston, you mentioned Indianapolis, and you mentioned, I think, Atlanta. So those are 3 of the big spots for the summertime. Are there any other spots that you guys are hitting, maybe more regionally besides those?
Well, in the fall we sent a team down to Jupiter for the upperclassmen, and we also sent a team to Fort Myers for the underclass. One of the things of being here in Omaha that we're really blessed with is we're the home of the College World Series.
Of course.
And we pull in a ton of high school teams, youth teams, that there's just massive tournaments that are played here for about a 2-week span. And we actually host a tournament that first weekend. It's a Thursday through a Sunday. I believe this year it's the 18th of June through the 22nd. I'd have to look at my calendar. But, we get some really good organizations to come in here from the South, from all over the country. And coach, it's a hotbed. I mean, we've already got, obviously the 8 teams that make the College World Series. Smaller colleges come in and watch. More Division I coaches come in and watch. So it's just a really good opportunity to get people into this state that were coming to watch baseball. Now their kids get to play baseball in front of colleges as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you have listeners that want to come to Omaha, it's a great time of year. College World Series is always a fun event, but it is a good tournament, like Scott said, that we host and we put on, and love to get some new teams or new areas of guys coming out here to play in our tournament as well.
I'm familiar with all the Little League and high school stuff that was going on out there, but it's good to hear that there's also some travel ball stuff sort of based around the excitement of the College World Series. Totally makes sense. So yeah, that would be pretty cool if some teams listening wanted to do an event out there. And that kind of brings up a thought. Some of these events, obviously, hey, we hit the road and we go down to Atlanta, and it's all about baseball. But man, there is nothing going on in Atlanta except for heat and humidity. Besides your one game a day, why not have some more of these events based around something exciting, like maybe the College World Series, so we can go play this tournament and we can go watch some of the best baseball in the country. Just a little food for thought there if anybody.
But and one thing to feed off of that, we would love to have a bigger tournament. The problem is right now is there's just not a nice complex in this city that can withstand many more teams coming in. With all the youth teams taking up the smaller fields and even some of the 60-90 fields, we're using fields like Doane University, Midland University, Haymarket Park, which is the home of the Huskers. We use Warner Park, which is home of the Storm Chasers. So we're getting out there, but we're kind of spread out. It would be really nice to have a complex here, that could host something. So.
Yeah, no doubt. We got to find a money man to build a big complex in Omaha. It's got to be
right.
There is a youth complex there though, right?
Yeah, there's a couple smaller ones. Council Bluffs probably has the largest youth complex.
Okay.
That's in Iowa.
Got it.
I mean, there's fields, but like Scott said, I mean, it's hard for us to grow our tournament much bigger because
running out of quality places and you're spreading out too far.
Yeah.
Got it. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah. Anybody wants to play during the College World Series next year, hit these guys up and get your team out there. So speaking of the summer schedule, what always ask people what's the kind of the good, bad, and the ugly as far as your perspective is concerned. What are the things you're loving right now? You mentioned a couple of the events. I know that one in Houston has gotten pretty big, and the one in Indianapolis has gotten pretty good. We all know about Atlanta. And then what are some, are there any areas that you see opportunities for improvement something you'd like to see?
Yeah, one of the things that with last summer being our first summer of having, full-time teams, we tried to implement something a little differently, a little bit of a learning curve as well, but for the most part, I think it went well. A lot of the complaints we got from kids was they never practiced.
Mm-hmm.
Playing that summer schedule that they were used to, they were lucky to ever have an off day. And on that off day, I mean, they never practiced.
Wait, is that – let me interrupt. You're talking about coming over from the Legion?
Yes, coming over from Legion to us.
Got it.
We actually went to our kids and asked, what do you guys want to do? And they want to practice.
Yeah, because Legion plays usually 5 days a week, don't they?
Yeah, at least. So with our summer plan, for instance, we would start on a Monday. We had lifting day, arm care day. Other than that first week, that was technically your rest day, but you still lifted. We still did arm care. We still did, workouts with our trainers.
Vision training.
Vision training was a big one that we did. Tuesday was Tuesday mornings. The kids went and did vision training, hitting training, agility training. Then we had team practice. Whoever couldn't get those trainings in before practice then went after practice. Wednesdays was basically the same schedule as Tuesday. Thursdays, we either had a light workout in the morning and then we would hit the road, or we would hit the road Wednesday night. Being as far away from a lot of the places that we left or played at, travel was a big one. There was a time in there this summer that I was on the road with the team for 25 out of 27 days.
Whew.
So then you're like, well, how did you guys practice? Well, we practiced when we were on the road. If we had a day in between there, we always stayed at hotels that had nice workout facilities. The kids still had to get their lifting in. They still had to get their running in. We found cages, indoor facilities, places that we could go and get our work in when we weren't playing games.
Yeah.
So, the biggest thing was we were trying to set this up to be a college-style schedule. And do you really want to play college baseball, and do you know what it takes? So you got to get used to life on the road. You got to get used to living in a hotel room and doing multiple things. And then you don't even have school right now. Was this too much for you without school? Now put school in there. And it's really an eye-opener for a lot of kids and being like, man, is this college baseball thing for me?
Yeah. Let me ask you, a couple guys we've had on from the Midwest, from Chicago, with the Illinois Indians with Nelson Gord, and then with the hitters with R.J. Fergus. Both these guys, coincidentally, kind of close to each other, right there in the Midwest. They travel as a team by 15-passenger van. Are you guys traveling as a team? The way you described it kind of made me feel like y'all were.
Yes, we do. Occasionally the parents will go,
Mm-hmm.
and they're more than welcome to take their player. But yeah, we take 15-passenger vans, 4 kids to a hotel room.
So you're staying as a team and you're traveling as a team. That's awesome.
Correct. Yep.
That is so cool. I'm just more used to, I guess a lot of the events are a little closer. And so, mom and dad can hop in the car. Maybe they take a half day on Friday and they just roll in. And I mean, honestly, most of the time kids are staying with their parents. So it's pretty cool. I think that's a really awesome experience for the kids to learn what life on the road is. I mean, you nailed it. You want to get a taste of college baseball. Share a room with 3 other players and get crammed in the back of a bus. It's awesome, guys. I love it. Do y'all? Let me ask you. This is a sort of a logistical question. Do y'all own? Do the Nebraska Prospects own vans at this point, or do you rent them each week?
At this point, we don't. We have sponsors right now that have been more than generous in giving us vans when they have them. But at times, if that car dealership doesn't have one, then we have to rent them. Yeah.
You might be a couple. You might decide here in a couple of years to get a couple of your own. If you go back and listen to the episodes with Nelson Gord and with R.J. Fergus, I think they've made the leap to just go ahead and buy it. And over the long haul, it seems to be a better work out better. But hey, y'all's owners are all pretty good with math, so I think you can figure that out for yourself.
It's funny. We do have one owner that really wants to buy some vans.
I bet we've
had that conversation.
I bet that's Darren.
It's actually Raleigh.
So let's take a pause here and sort of introduce the structure of the ownership. One of the things I've recognized is there's a million ways to set up a travel organization. A lot of guys around here, it's part of running a facility. So there's a facility with lessons going on during the day, and they have these teams that go out and play on the weekends. And then some of them are just standalone teams where there's one owner and he hires a bunch of coaches. You guys have basically 4 main guys who are sort of part owners, and it's no facility, right? I haven't heard any talk of a facility.
Yeah, no facility. I would say our structure, and I'm guessing here, but is probably different than most of our teams that we play against. Like you said, we have no facility. We rent facility space and we use facilities. We have some pretty good arrangements and relationships there, but we don't have our own designated facility that we do everything out of. We don't own a facility. I think, again, we're unique in the fact that all 4 of us owners have other jobs, and this isn't our full-time thing. This isn't a full-time thing for any of us.
I was going to point that out as well. I think that's I think that's important to hear. Again, there's
Yeah.
a million ways to be involved in travel baseball, and there are a bunch of guys who are able to do baseball full time, but you don't have to.
You don't have to, and for us, like I said at the beginning, I mean, we started this thing with one team and not really with the intention of it scaling like it has. I feel like we've been putting out a good product, and people have been happy with what we're doing, and so it's just naturally kept growing. And Scott Stahlecker, who's with us here, I mean, he wasn't one of the original owners, but as we were growing, Scott played a role in everything we were doing, and again, we felt like growing was difficult, with just a few of us, and like I said, it being kind of a side thing. Scott does a phenomenal job, has phenomenal relationships and everything else. So it felt like it was important to add him onto kind of our team. But like I said, it's probably unique in the fact that we have 4 owners and none of us, do this as our full-time deal.
It's, it kind of brings a saying into my head. What's the saying? I think it's many hands make light work, right? So you guys have figured out that with 4 people all involved, I'm sure there's a little bit of divide and conquer. There's probably a little bit of, this guy does this thing well. And so if you can split the work, that hopefully makes it easy on everybody, so that, again, this is a side gig for y'all, so you can go and do your day job, which is great. And having 4 guys that have the flexibility from their day job to allow them to hit the road and travel, that's a pretty unique situation too. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then we all have families too, so it's nice that we can split up, like you said, I mean, some of the travel and responsibility things and still have quality family time.
What let's talk about some of these events you went to. What's your favorite event of the summer?
Oh, of the summer. Atlanta's a pretty fun one. I mean, when you're in Atlanta, everything is so spread out. But when you walk into that park and we played on a 4-plex over there. If you walk into the right, it was just unreal to see all of the professional scouts, the college scouts from every level. I mean, while we're playing, I got a kid going to Arkansas State on the mound. We're playing a team out of California who's got a kid going to USC. On the field right behind us, there's an LSU and an Ole Miss guy going head-to-head. It's just what you see is just unreal.
It's pretty wild, isn't it? It's like a circus.
It's wild, and you try to explain to folks here in Nebraska, what we saw, and they're like, no way. And then they go and they're like, oh my God, you guys aren't lying. I'm like, no, this is what we're trying to get you guys. Well, it's not only those SEC schools that are there. It's
everybody.
It's hundreds of schools. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Ollie's got a saying that we never get your kid a scholarship. We don't earn it for you. You have to earn it. Yep. We'll put you in the situations and help you out on the communication side, but you still got to earn it. And by doing all this together and playing in venues like that, it's pretty wild.
Imagine the family that believes that the American Legion is the best thing for their kids' recruiting process. If you could pick them up and stick them over at Lake Point, they wouldn't even. I mean, their jaw would hit the floor so hard it would be unbelievable.
Yeah,
it'd be unbelievable. It's a totally different thing. Yeah, that's why Atlanta. I rip on Atlanta simply because it's not. It's like it's Atlanta. Nobody. Yeah. I don't think anybody grows up hoping to go to vacation in Atlanta during July. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's where it is, and that's the big one everybody looks forward to.
There's another unique tournament in the fall, really early fall in Grand Park, Westfield, Indiana. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that facility at all.
I have not. Is that the one? It's supposed to be awesome, isn't it?
It's got 31 fields.
Oh my word!
All of them are turf fields.
Grand
all
Park.
Yep, Grand Park. It's in Westfield, Indiana. It's got a huge indoor facility. But this fall, there's a really good tournament there. There's a national junior college tournament that I believe is played on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And they bring in these high school teams or travel ball teams on Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that just so there's already all these Division I coaches in hand. There's all these junior colleges playing in this tournament.
Yeah.
So that Friday, Saturday, when we were there, I would say there was close to 300 colleges sitting there watching baseball.
I'm looking if you go to grandpark.org, I believe is the website, and I'm looking at an aerial photo, and it's like fields as far as the eye can see. It's
an amazing facility.
Incredible. How far is that from you guys?
9-hour drive, right across I-80.
That's awesome. I think you're the first person to mention this place to me. It's very cool. Looks like some of the fields are maybe turf infield, some are full turf, and some are grass. At least that's what the look of it is.
Yeah, I think there's five fully turfed 60-90 fields, and then all the other fields are a little bit shorter than that, but they all have turf infields.
Incredible. But the idea that the event is basically running almost simultaneously as the JUCO thing, it's just smart, right? That's what this is all about. It's like create efficiencies to get as many of the kids in front of as many of the coaches as possible. So you're not sitting there, playing in front of nobody all the time.
It's almost like hosting a tournament in Omaha during the College World Series.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Yeah. Think about that for a second if you're listening. Yeah. That's guys, you got it. That thing's got to blow up a little bit, I think. The College World Series tournaments has huge potential. Cool, man. Let's give a little shout out here. You guys mentioned the Program 15 event down in Houston with Jeremy Booth. You were not the first person to mention Program 15. That's a company run by Jeremy Booth that is, that's like he's the biggest hustler in baseball right now, isn't he?
Jeremy does a phenomenal job of getting quality teams to his events. When we were down in Houston for that New Balance Future Star Series, I believe Jeremy brought in 28 programs. And I can go back on Twitter and look, but they had over 90 pitchers over 90 miles per hour that were all going to be seniors in high school or younger. So just the talent that Jeremy is associated with and can put together in one location was pretty remarkable.
Yeah. That guy, I don't think he sleeps. Pretty sure if you're not following, if you don't know, just find Jeremy Booth. He goes from he probably ran like 200 scout days this year. And then I look up the other day and he's on the field. He's on the field at the after Altuve hit the home run. I think I saw a post game recap, and there's Jeremy on field in a suit jacket. I'm like, the guy's literally everywhere. It's unbelievable. So, if you're listening, hey Jeremy, how you doing, buddy? Right on. Well, let me ask you a question. You guys are Nebraska corn-fed boys. I'm thinking big, strong, kind of farm kids, right? At least that's the stereotype. How would you think college coaches describe your players? Is there a word or a phrase that you hope or think describes your guys?
It's a good question. I think Midwest schools know that there's a lot of talent here. I think when we start to get outside the Midwest, I think people have been surprised at like, wow, you guys there's more talent here than I thought. And I think one thing you can expect from Nebraska kids is, in general, I guess, obviously it's going to fit everybody, but in general, they're going to be hardworking kids. They're going to be hard-nosed. I mean, just gritty, tough. I mean, I like to say winners. And that's kind of, I feel like that's a lot of our kids is almost playing the chip on their shoulder and trying to prove that they belong and prove that they can play on a bigger stage. So that's how I describe our kids. And certainly, like you said, I mean, there's big, strong, country farm boy kid, but we also have kids that can run. We have kids that can pitch it. We have some of everything. But like I said, I'd call it gritty and tough and hard-nosed kids.
One of the things that differentiates us a little bit, a lot of these organizations that we play around the country, their kids are from around the country. And The only time they see each other is when they show up at the tournament and hope their planes are on time. We're a very tight-knit community for the most part. Our kids all know each other. Some of them go to school with each other, but, for the most part, they've known each other for a long time. We practice together. We do a lot of things together. And in my opinion, when you put us on the field, we might not have the 95 to 99 mile an hour arms that some of these guys do, but, we've got 90-plus arms. But we do the little things right. We are team-oriented. We move guys around. We hit and run. We steal bags. And that's just because we know our players really well, and we do, like I said, we practice together.
I love what Scott just said there, too, about, doing the little things. And he asked the good, the bad, the ugly earlier. And I think, to me, one of the downsides to travel ball and showcase baseball and that kind of thing is you get more kids just kind of out for themselves. And I've heard college coaches say this as well, that that's the downside, right, is they feel like kids, don't play team baseball anymore and aren't willing to do the little things and some of that kind of stuff. And our kids definitely, I mean, they'll bunt, they'll hit and run, they'll move a guy over, they'll do the little things and try and win ball games. And then also that, they can thump it and pitch it as well. So I personally, I take pride in that. I like that our guys do that and we play that style of baseball.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I appreciate that answer because you do see some of the national organizations who are pulling kids from all over. And listen, I guess there's a place and time for that. It's it's not right or wrong, but it is hard to practice with those guys. It's hard to do that, and there's so much going on in practice to make you a better player. It's we've seen it. I've heard GMs talk about we already have showcase players who are making it to the big leagues, and they're getting to the big leagues, and the talent's there. There's no lack of talent, but sometimes it's a lack of baseball savvy, right? Because they haven't they just haven't been on the practice field quite as much. So yeah, no, that's awesome that y'all get to do that, and you got that weekly routine. Well, listen, man, I've appreciated having both of you guys on there on the show today. It's been a lot of fun. Do you have any kind of parting comments, or are there any other points that we should hit before we hang this call up?
But I wanted to talk a little bit more, if you don't mind, if you have time here.
Yeah.
Or just you. Kind of a question for you here, just with the differences with Legion ball. I know the thing that we fight, I feel like, is the high school coaches, I know Scott said earlier, are certainly good coaches, but they're really fighting us on letting kids go and letting kids go do travel ball and doing that kind of thing. And I'm just curious the landscape in other areas and how it's won over. And I mean, like I said, not all, but there's a lot of coaches around here that have not embraced it and are kind of digging in and kind of fighting it. So just curious even where it is or what it's like in your neck of the woods.
Man, like the high school coaches are great guys. They're awesome. They're good coaches for the most part. The reality is you don't see a lot of college coaches out at high school games or Legion games because, well, during the high school season, the colleges are kind of busy doing something that's, their own season. So, yeah, you'll see a random guy pop into a ball game, but it's very uncommon, because a few months later, you start June 1st, you're going to see, you can, instead of going to see one guy, you can go see 1,000 guys if you're a college coach. It's just so much more efficient. So I think the high school coaches have sort of, they not that they don't care about the kids, but they've let go a little bit and accepted that travel baseball has its place. And honestly, around here, we see a lot of my contacts on the East Coast. I mean, a lot of the travel teams are being coached by high school coaches as well. So now it's not like you instead of fighting them, you're joining them.
Right.
And
did they embrace that from the beginning, or was
no?
It
I don't think they did. I don't think they did. But also some of the high school coaches didn't embrace that guy who was down the street giving lessons either.
Right.
They would say, well, you just come here. You can hit here for free. You don't have to pay for a lesson. Well, it is what it is. And there's different places, and each guy kind of serves his own purpose. They serve a purpose in the kid's life. I don't discount any high school coach, and I've said it on here and I'll say it again. Any college coach, once they are closing in on making an offer to a kid, if they don't take a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to call the high school coach, that's on them. That's the college coach's fault, because that high school coach spends a heck of a lot of time, because normally they're in the building, they're at that school, and the conversation doesn't need to be about the skill set. Once a college coach is close to making an offer, they already know about the skill set. But you're able to get much better insight from that high school coach who's in the building. They know what kids that kid is palling around with. How's he treating the custodian? How's he act during lunchtime? Is he early to school, or is he late to school every day? Right? Is he front of the classroom guy, or is he sleeping in the back? Right? Those are things that matter and have huge importance that can give a college coach a ton of insight. There's no way you get that type of insight from a travel ball coach. No offense.
Yeah.
It's a different dynamic. There's no classroom dynamic with travel ball. So you don't know what that's like. So yeah, college coach who's not checking in with a high school coach most circumstances, you're not going to learn any new information, but if it can help you avoid a bad decision, it's worth a 5-minute phone call. So
totally agree. It's funny, just to follow up on, I guess, the other thing I've told people around here is that this is no different than what all the other sports do. Whether it's boys or girls. You look at volleyball or basketball or soccer, or
100%.
Most of the recruitment happens on the club teams and the club level, and then they play their high school season for their school. So it's I don't know, funny is the right word, that like I said, a lot of the baseball guys around here haven't embraced it, but it's like this isn't just a baseball thing. This is how athletics in 2019 are.
Yeah, where you might end up having a little bit of headway getting your area to embrace it is when you start hiring some of these guys to coach during the summer, because they'll be able to see it firsthand, and then when they get back, next spring they get into league play and they're talking with all the rest of the high school coaches, word will travel. I don't know if you have a bunch of the high school coaches already coaching your teams, but you might want to reach out to them and say, hey, we're growing. We could use a guy, and I think that might kind of speed up the process to embrace travel baseball in your area. Maybe.
So one of the hard parts there is the spring ball where they're playing for their school are the same coaches they play with for American Legion ball. So then when we
so those high school coaches are mostly sticking around and doing Legion too?
All of them. Yep. So then in the fall when they don't have baseball, and we try to get some of those guys to come help us, but they're not allowed to be a part of any team if they have 4 kids or more that are their kids from their school.
Yeah.
So it's more down to the NSAA, Nebraska Schools Association, than it is the coaches. I mean, I think they would all be on it in 2 seconds to be able to help us coach in the fall when we could actually have them. But the coaches, and that's where the kids run into a problem is if the kid's playing spring ball for his school, then he's letting his coaches down, and the coaches let him know because they go play travel ball with us. Well, in our opinion, go play spring ball. Go win a state championship for your high school.
Absolutely.
In the summer, let us have you, and let's go travel, and let's get you recruited.
I got to think you're going to peel a guy away from his Legion team here at some point. Or
we do.
Or you'll get a guy who's just hired as a high school coach who's not involved with Legion yet. You'll get that guy, and word will start to travel. I mean,
yeah, we hope so.
Listen, we all went through this. It was just 20 years ago around here. You'll catch up.
That's how things happen, right? We're about 20 years late to the party here in Nebraska.
Well, I mean, just to give you an idea, let me think about this. So I graduated high school in 97. So probably in 95, we had a team that was just incredible. It was a full roster of guys that eventually ended up going to play Division I baseball. And we played at 15. We played a fall together, and it was pretty good. And we played some. The travel ball thing wasn't really a thing. We had played some AAU tournaments at 12, 13, and 14, and then fall of 15. And then so move into the summer after our 15-year-old fall, and we told the guy, hey, we're going to go play Legion because that's where the recruiting happens. Now, granted, that travel team would have beat every American Legion team in the area at 15 and 16 years old. So we believed it back then, and we would have been better off staying together as kind of a high-powered team. But we didn't. We told the coach, hey, man, this is it. Good run. Fist bump. See you at the Legion field. And that was the end of it. And then shortly thereafter, we began to see travel teams sort of, there was more organization to it at the older age groups. But I missed it. I was on the front end of it, and I would say we could have been that first travel team in the area at the older age group, and we were all in love with Legion. So it shifts. You just got to keep showing people, keep telling people about the circus in Atlanta, to keep telling people about the hundreds of coaches that you play in front of in Houston, in Indianapolis. When they hear those stories and they realize that 90% of their Legion games have 0 coaches, they'll figure it out. So it's still a thing. We still have Legion. It's just a different set of players. It's not the recruiting guys. It's not the guys who are going currently in the recruiting process. So it just serves a different audience. So
yeah.
Well,
I think we're making headway. I like where things are headed here, but it's just it'll be a process.
Yeah. Any other parting shots?
No, good stuff. Personally, I really appreciate having us on. Good conversation, and hopefully we gave you some good stuff for your pod.
I think so too. I appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to hang up, guys. If you're still listening, I appreciate you. We're going to have this at playinschool.com/Leise, Leise. Will be where it's where all the show notes and links to their Twitter and website. So appreciate it. Hang on, guys. I'm gonna stop the recording now. I'm having so much fun bringing these shows to you each week. If you'd like to recommend a coach for the show, please don't hesitate to shoot me a note at rich@playinschool.com or DM me on Twitter @playinschool. Again, my name is Rich Prado. I'm the founder of Play in School. My goal is to continue to create products and services that add value to you, the travel ball coaches, your players, and their parents. Visit playinschool.com to see some of the ways we're doing that. Or better yet, let's set up a call. Until next time, thank you for listening to Travel Ball Talk.